They want us to wear quiet luxury clothing. And this is popping off. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the BOF, Business of Fashion,
Boff.
has a whole, the booth has a whole post about it, specifically in relation to the hit HBO television show Succession that has started airing its final season this past week. What do they mean when they talk about quiet luxury here? Oh.
I'm just trying to make this podcast as unlistenable and unwatchable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
What do they mean? I once upon a time, I did see a study that suggested that in periods of recessions, luxury brands will pivot away from doing more logo-focused stuff. There's like a pivot towards minimalism during recessions. And that's what we saw like in 2008.
Sure.
And I worry that this is kind of like a skyscraper thing. Like when there's a peak of skyscrapers, there's immediately a recession. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to enter a recession. That's what I'm telling you. Quiet luxury, as I am interpreted in it, is when you're dripped out, but it's like space and nobody can hear you scream. You're dripped out, but nobody knows because it just looks like normal clothing.
Well, to be more specific, I think what people respond to about it, not just that nobody knows, but if you know, you know.
Yeah. Like
you know what I mean?
Like the Pusha T song.
Exactly. And they are talking about these, I don't even know what strata you would put it in, because it's not even luxury. It's not even really high luxury. It's like this rarefied level that's beyond the typical delineations of expensive clothing, right?
Yeah. It's like you have so much money. Like you have transcended telling people you're wealthy. And I typically kind of hate this. And I'll explain why.
Please.
You'll find that like groups of people who are otherwise disenfranchised, they will use clothing as an indicator of sometimes success or their identity. This is like a lot of people. But then white people will just not give a heck because they don't have to, especially if you're rich. If you're a rich guy, you can be like Sam Bake Fraud Freed, and you can just wear shorts and you could be a billionaire because it has never been a concern for you to indicate to anyone that you're important, because of course you are. You're already
the only thing that's ever mattered to him is where his Adderall refill is coming from and how many new nerds are getting added to his harem this week.
Yeah, exactly. And the Adderall refills are coming from the psychiatrist that they had on staff. Which is, that's how you know they have a drug problem. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to be able to keep anything straight today. But the article that we were looking at about Succession is talking about how those rich guys in that show, they dress so subtle. They're so subtle in their richness. They're so discreet.
Very.
Big The Row vibes.
Oh, yeah. And I think they go into it in this. There's this certain subsection. The Row is one of the biggest. Zegna, as the low IQ pores might call it, right?
I hate low IQ pores.
Brunello Cucinelli, Loro Piana, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of brands, I'd say, that have like a material focus generally.
Yeah.
Like instead of the cuts or the, I don't know,
fashion
even of it. Yeah, it's heavily focused on materials and craft, like a lot of silks and cashmeres and alpacas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like I always think of it as like old Italian guy clothes. You know, like if you ever walking down the street, I'm sure everybody can relate to this. Middle America, you're walking down the street, you see an old Italian guy. And he's got like he's wearing a scarf at all seasons, and he has a vest,
like the Pope.
Like the Pope, yeah. Did you see that dripped out picture of the Pope? Oh,
he
recently?
Was dripping.
He was dripped out. He was dripped out. Hold on, pull it up. Pull it up. Pull up that picture of the Pope.
Pope must bring it up, right?
Yeah, Pope.
Oh
The
yeah.
Pope drip. Okay. If you're just listening, we're looking at a picture of Pope Francis. The figurehead, the man who speaks to God, and he's dripped. He's
Yeah,
dripped. What is
if you
that?
want to find it, we just confirmed that if you Google drip Pope, it will show up.
Yeah. Is that Montclair? Is that what he's wearing?
I don't. If it was Montclair, I think it would have the
The
logo
little, the
off
little,
on
the
the
guy.
sleeve. So
Yeah.
I actually don't know what it is. Although my first guess was definitely Montclair when I first saw it.
Yeah. It's fake though. That's what I've been told. It's
Oh.
fake drip.
So I want to get back to this though, because I want to take it a step further and ask why it's Succession specifically that is getting people so hyped up about fashion. And it has done this ever since I think it hit like critical mass of popularity, probably
Yeah.
last season, I would say. It seems like it drives a lot of fashion conversations as it's
Which
airing.
is curious. It's
Yeah.
definitely really curious. And I did complain about this, or I texted you about this.
Mhm.
I was and it was almost like I was in Succession because I was in like a really crappy subway train when I was texting you, like
Mhm.
crammed in. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why does everybody talk about the fashion in Succession?
Yeah.
Because if you're unfamiliar with the show, it's basically Rupert Murdoch's family, but it's fictional, and his 3 kids want to have daddy's money. But
Mhm.
they're not like, it's not like in every episode they're wearing like, Craig Green or like Comme des Garçons or something.
Right.
They're like wearing like quote unquote normal people outfits. But I think because the show is very aesthetic, like the way places it's shot, the way it's shot,
Mhm.
everything about it is aesthetic. The theme song, that is a bop. I think that there is just a degree in which the costume designers are really honing in on this, like the desperate lives of these people, where the outfits are speaking volumes, even if they are quiet luxury. Maybe it's just they're killing
Absolutely.
it, and it's like the type of thing where they would otherwise it would be ignored, it would be invisible, but because there's just something about their outfits which is just like kind of, it's just hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Did you see the most recent episode?
Yes, I did. I wonder if
So,
you're going to talk about what I'm thinking of.
well,
Hit
I
hit
just
me.
like and this is before we were talking about this. I was just thinking about the 3 kids. Their outfits were really kind of, I really strongly identified their characters, and it's
Mhm.
otherwise just clothes, but they're clearly very expensive.
Yeah.
And what's his face? The oldest, not the oldest, but the second oldest, the
Jeremy
son.
Strong, Kieran Culkin,
This not Kieran Culkin.
Jeremy
Jeremy Strong.
Strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like his outfit when he walked in, it was just like strong douchebag vibes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just powerful.
He's like kind of like
Powerful.
a leather boy, but
Yeah,
like a nice Italian, like Guidi leather boy
yeah,
kind of,
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
Shiv, like her,
Mhm.
that character, like her like businesswoman attire is always just like, it radiates their character.
And even going back, not to get too deep into like storylines and things, but they do it so well. There was an episode or a couple episodes with Adrian Brody, who's another like billionaire, and they
Mhm.
really carved out his character really well through wardrobe by making him like the kind of like outdoorsy, kind of like
Yeah.
Patagonia Gorp Corp type billionaire,
He was really gorped out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring up, and I think this maybe gets at an angle at least of maybe why fashion people like playing into this show so much, is it maybe gives people a window into like the fuck you money class, because it's
Yeah.
not something, obviously there's hyper rich people in media and movies and TV shows, but usually they're presented in some kind of way that's trying to be somewhat relatable to some degree, whereas this show, it the storytelling is done through the degree to which these people are removed from everyday life. And I think it's like a window into something that people don't usually have a window into. And I thought in the most recent episode, there's a great moment where one of the characters brings a new girl to a birthday party, and he gets chewed out by his friend because the girl he brought is wearing a capacious Burberry tote
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
bucket bag.
I
And that's something that never occurred to me. Like, oh, do the ultra wealthy think that like big totes are tacky in some
oh,
way? I don't
if
know.
if you why would you have to carry things?
Right,
What the
exactly.
hell?
Where's your person who carries your things?
You know what? Maybe that costume designer is like a savant. Maybe they're brilliant
Right.
because the
Right.
fact that it was that Burberry bag, it was a big
Mhm.
Burberry bag. It's like it's like a nothing. It's like that's like the worst bag you could have brought. Like if they had like a big Celine, like Phoebe Philo Celine
Mhm.
bag, it would be like, oh, okay. But that one, it's like not good. Also, why is it always the why is it always the old guy's birthday? Every episode is his birthday, it
So
seems like.
he's always having a party for himself that he
It's,
does not
he's
want to be
he's
at.
always furious that it's his birthday.
Mhm.
Every episode. He's like
Also,
120.
maybe the final note I'll make on this subject is I think the first time that I saw this show being used as like a conversation starter in fashion circles was when people were arguing about the patriarch Logan's cowl sweaters. And it's
Mm.
like, oh, that's absolute trash. Cowl sweaters. My God, no. Look, it's disgusting. And at the time I remember being like, I kind of like cowl sweaters.
Yeah. Also, isn't that kind of like Scottish? Isn't that like
Very.
kind of
Yeah,
Scottish
I
vibes?
definitely
So
think so. Yeah.
yeah, I think they're just, and it's like, when you're that rich, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Something Rupert Murdoch said in real life recently, I think
Hmm.
involving probably like scandals with Fox News lying.
Hmm.
And he said he was like quoted saying it's not about red or blue, it's about green. And the fact that he said that in real life just makes me think like he's writing Succession. They don't even
Right.
have to do
Right.
anything. This guy's a real life villain.
Well, I don't know if you noticed. Do you remember the incredibly embarrassing episode where Kendall is like rapping the like
Uh-huh.
L to the OG?
Yeah, that's
That scene is directly based off of one of the Murdoch kids. He like
mm,
rapped for his daddy at a party.
oof. It makes me
Yeah.
think of like you know how Tom Hanks' son, there's like
Oh
that one
yes,
clip of
chat,
him.
chat.
Yeah, and he's like bruh, bruh. He's like a Rastafarian. He does like
Whereas the other
Rasta.
son is the Orange County guy. How did this happen?
Uh, uh, I don't know. I
Anyway,
do not know.
you know
More
what I think?
fashion.
I think that at least one of the characters in Succession would be heavily invested into NFTs in the metaverse at this moment, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, yes.